There have been a lot of changes to Clash of Clans recently, from the introduction of chests in the treasure event to an upcoming Gold Pass test in October. We've had Magic Snacks, Supercharged defenses. I'm going to discuss them all and basically any introduction to the game over the last month or so, starting with the Gold Pass change in October. Now, this is not the same as when they removed and then re-added the hero skin, although I will share with you what I said to the team back then, later in the video, but this is actually an improvement to the Gold Pass, because they are testing 3 different versions of the Gold Pass with randomly selected players. So I guess you will find out which one you are in when you log into the game. But essentially, everyone that has access to the Gold Pass will be randomly put into one of 3 groups. The first has the exact same process as what the season challenges normally is. The same amount of points, the same cadence of tasks, so this is their control group. The second group will then be provided the same frequency of tasks each week. However, they will only require 2,000 points to complete the entire pass, not 2,600. The third group will then still require 2,600, but they will actually get extra tasks each week, meaning they could technically progress through the track faster if they wanted to by completing the increased weekly tasks. So this is a good thing. And even though it's an advantage to be in one of the new testing groups, even if you're in the control group where everything's exactly the same, for active players, it's fairly easy to get to the end of the season track anyway. But they're testing this to see what motivates players to complete the challenges when they do, so that they can improve the Gold Pass for all players moving forward. So I really like that they're not just making a switch and thinking that it's the right thing to do. They're testing this out and then they can tweak the Gold Pass so that it's accessible to all players in the future. So I'm excited to see how it goes. The event calendar for October was also shared today, which includes a Clashoween medal event on the 11th, and the treasure hunt event will run until October 9th. So let's discuss the introduction of chests, because finally, last month, the treasure event happened. And I say that because there were numerous bugs that kept pushing it back. Clearly, it would be better if there wasn't any bugs, but there have been a lot of them recently, and I do think the team needs to try and squash this because there was a lot during this past update. But I will say that bugs are inevitable to a degree. They can't test things with the sheer volume of players, millions and millions of players who play on different devices. Maybe they don't have the latest operating software on those devices, so there's just endless possibilities that can lead to bugs. But clearly, there does need to be a little bit more time put into minimizing those as best as possible. And the other thing I would say is that I don't mind bugs here and there if it means that we are getting bigger and better content. I am also happy that they wait on the release of things until those bugs are fixed, such as with the treasure event. Now, the event itself, I think, is very exciting. It is brand new for Clash of Clans, and this is a problem that I think has occurred a lot more over the past year, since we have a lot more events going on, whether that be the Rubble Rumble community events to the streak events. But essentially, the rewards for those are very underwhelming for higher level active players. And that is because they have to scale those rewards based on everybody in the game. And they don't want to break the economy at the lower levels, even though, to be honest, most of the rewards do. So they kind of end up giving rewards for the middle town hall levels. But with the chests, they will be able to scale things based on town hall levels. And I think that will be a lot better for the longevity of the game to make sure that these events that we get feel rewarding to everyone. For example, challenge levels. I've said for quite a while now that I think a lot of the rewards are just underwhelming. We used to occasionally get a book or something like that from the challenge levels, but we never do anymore. We barely get a builder potion, because we just get the lower value items. And I think that is a knock-on effect of trying to balance the economy across the game, whereby the team can't just inject too many items for all of these different events. That essentially, it just puts too much of it into the game. So they have to get that balance, obviously, so that they can monetize things as well. And that will tie a little bit later on into the Gold Pass discussion we will have, and also the legendary scenery. But sticking to the treasure event for the moment, I think the chests solve a lot of those issues. Plus, it's fun. I think it will go down very well, and I believe that the chests will be a good thing for the game. However, I will say that I really hope they do not monetize the chests, and I am fairly confident that they would not. Surely they would not, because there's just the RNG element to it, and whilst it's fun getting the free chests in the game, I don't think it's fair that later down the line they try and monetize it or anything like that. Now, they did say in the release notes that they have no plans to do that. It is just going to be for the treasure event. It is not monetized, but I hope it stays that way, essentially. Now, from the treasure chests, that's where we can get the magic snacks, which is another new addition to the game. Again, I think it's really good that we're adding so many new things and pushing the game to new levels. But I do hope we get to a stage where, okay, we have all of the core things that we need. We're not just adding for the sake of adding and bringing more complexity to the game. But I do think the magic snacks help with a lot of issues that they have as well, in that you can freely use the magic snacks and not feel like you have to hoard them and use them at the exact right time, which sometimes for magic items, you feel that little bit of pressure of using it to the maximum value. Whereas since they're only 24 hours, the magic snacks, then you have to use it there and then. And I think for active players, it's really great, because the Clan Castle cake, for example, I don't have to spend my raid medals all of the time filling my Clan Castle, because that's what I use them for. I can essentially use that, get all of my legend attacks done that day. The training treat can provide pretty much the same thing. And I do like that the Mighty Morsel, which is the magic snack which boosts the equipment to maximum level, the counter does not go down in friendly challenges. So should you want to test equipment out to figure out, do I want to put my ore into this or not? You could pop one of those and just endlessly practice in friendly challenges to see whether you think it's viable or not. That said, I don't think that should be a replacement for having a practice ground for the equipment, because much like the Super Troops, we should be able to test out the equipment before we put the ore into it, since the ore is something that is clearly harder to get. One thing I will say on the magic snacks is that I wasn't quite sure at first on the 24 hours, because should you be in war, but it's preparation day, then you could miss out on your magic snacks. But I do think that the 24 hours is simplistic. It means you're not trying to hoard the magic items, and if we get them frequently enough, then that wouldn't be an issue anyway. Until we know how often we will get the magic snacks, I think it's really hard to say how good they are. And that is something that time will tell. Now, when the team shared the reason for adding magic snacks, what they said was it was to reward active players who attack daily. So I'd like to think that we get the magic snacks at a rate where the 24-hour is not an issue. But again, I guess time will tell, and I do like the principle of them. Alongside the magic snacks, we had the sneak peek of Supercharges on the exact same day. Now, Supercharges are a really interesting one in the fact that they are temporary upgrades. Now, clearly, this is something that not everyone is going to like. And I think it doesn't have to be a black and white, I like this feature or I don't like this feature. There can very much be a middle ground that I like elements of this feature and I don't like elements of the feature as well. And I think that's kind of where I was initially at when I first heard about Superchargers, but I must say I'm definitely leaning a lot more towards really liking the Superchargers for a few reasons. Firstly, I think this helps with the longevity of the game. Whenever I meet people and tell them about Clash of Clans and, what I do, I will often hear, oh, I used to play Clash of Clans because Clash used to be massive, right? And whenever someone says that, I always say, why did you stop? And I would say there are two common responses. Number one is that upgrade times take way too long. And over the last year, the Clash of Clans team have definitely woke up to that and have been reducing the upgrade times drastically. Even at the top level, in that of Town Hall 16, the upgrade times were nothing like at Town Hall 15. So they heard that feedback and they've already started integrating that, and we are seeing reductions in cost and time a lot more than I would have thought, to be honest, in the game. The other reason that people tend to say they quit the game is when they have nothing to do. And I can kind of relate to this in the fact of my main and my second account. So my main account, for content, I tend to upgrade all of the new things straight away so I can showcase them to you. But then when it comes to a daily basis, I basically only do my war attacks on my main account, and that's it. I don't really do anything else. I attack on my second account, because that's where I purchase the gold pass and the event pass, but nothing else. And that's where I work towards maxing my base. So I don't really have much motivation on my main account to keep attacking. And that's basically what people say when they have nothing to do. Even if it's walls can be a bit demotivating to just upgrade. And I guess that's a separate topic, but I don't mind walls being expensive and that there's a lot of them, because it gives you something to do, and they're not that pivotal. So if you don't have them maxed, you're not at that big of a disadvantage. Focus on the buildings first, get to the walls last. That's what I'm doing on my second account. And I think the Superchargers really help with these problems, actually. Because if by adding more endgame content, that allowed the team to speed up progress to the end game in that of Town Hall 16 or the highest Town Hall, whatever it might be, then by adding Superchargers, if they can reduce upgrade times throughout the rest of the game, because there's more to do at end game, then that's a good thing, because most players can then feel like they can get to the top level at a good rate. I think that also brings up separate issues that maybe we can discuss in a future video here on my new second channel, because that's mainly what I want to focus on, is a little bit more discussion-based topics and, just let you know my thoughts on Clash of Clans. But I think that could bring new issues in that people progress through the game too fast, in that they can't learn the skills necessarily, and then when they get to Town Hall 16, it's overwhelming and they, can't find the success that they want. But sticking to the Superchargers, if it allows them to speed up upgrade times, that's great. And if it provides more end game content for those players that have nothing to do, then that's also great, because the upgrade times and cost aren't really that drastic in comparison to normal upgrades. So once you get to the point that you have nothing to do, then you get that nice little bonus, but you don't have to do it. So on my second account, I am not touching the Superchargers, because I am just going to, whilst I still have walls left over, I'm going to upgrade the walls, and that's it. I am not touching the Superchargers one bit. So it helps to give you that little bit of a bonus, and I'd like to think that it is very smart in how they've done it, but I guess we don't really know until Town Hall 17 is released. But typically there is not all of the defensive buildings when a Town Hall is released. However, I'd like to think that the defenses that did not get Superchargers are the first levels that get upgraded at Town Hall 17, so you get the most out of your supercharged bonuses. And I guess it just always comes back to the fact that the temporary upgrades, some people might not like that, but if it allows them to solve so many issues in the game, especially because such a small amount of people are at a maxed point, then all in all, I think it's a good thing for the game. There's always going to be trade-offs, pros and cons. You're never going to please everybody with changes. And I guess that brings us to the legendary scenery, because this is also something that I think is just up and down, whether you like it or you don't like it. Now, I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I will say that I am a lot happier about the team trying to monetize through cosmetics versus being strict progression. Clearly, they are still going to monetize so that you can progress faster. I always have liked Clash. I think compared to a lot of other games, it is in a fantastic spot that you really can progress and have the exact same, well, not the exact same gameplay experience, but you can unlock everything that you can from playing. There is nothing that you can't do. So I think Clash is in a great space in that case, but they will always monetize so you can progress faster. Because why wouldn't they? If you want to do that, then, you know, you should be able to progress faster, to speed up. But if they can monetize more through cosmetics so they can get that better balance between free-to-play players and players that are paying, then that is clearly better to do. It is a steep price when you compare it to other cosmetics. And I think the main issue comes down, in my view, to Clash is a global game. So regional pricing is probably something that they could look at, whereby, you know, the price scales depending on where it is that you're buying this from. I know there's tax included that varies the price a little bit, but in terms of the actual set pricing, could vary across regions, and that could make it accessible to all players based on where they live. But on the same token, you know, that always comes back to, even where you live, the price is going to be worth it for some people and not worth it for other people. And I think that's just a really hard dilemma when it comes to higher price point items. They did say that they are looking to bring lower price point cosmetics as well, so that everyone can enjoy these. But I don't mind the higher price because it is only a scenery. It makes it more exclusive for people. And if that allows them to have better balance across the game, again, it's unrealistic for them to not have progression. But let's say they can add a feature, like, for example, the heroes. We have not been able to use our heroes whilst they're upgrading because Clash of Clans said they relied too much on monetization of the Book of Heroes. If they can sell some higher price point cosmetics like this, and it's worth it to some players, and that means we can use our heroes whilst they're upgrading, then that is a good trade-off because it improves the gameplay experience for all players. And that's kind of where I lie on the legendary scenery, but also where I think they were trying to aim with the gold pass. The team did say they added the decoration so that it was accessible to all players, whereas depending on the hero, the skin is not. But I also think it was probably to try and sell more skins and therefore make more money through the cosmetic side of the game. Now, we all know that was thankfully reverted, and we do now have the hero skin back in the gold pass. I am glad that the team acted swiftly and they did not mess around. They also gave us some builder potions and starry ore as an apology for making that mistake. And a little thing as well is that the team decided to choose the best skin to put in the gold pass. A lot of creators were giving feedback that the Warden skin was the best one, and it's my favorite as well because of that little baby dragon, and that's the one they chose to put in there. So I definitely applaud them on swiftly making the change. Whether that was because of the sentiment of the community or because they sold less gold passes, I guess we will never know. But it is something that pretty much every creator gave them that feedback beforehand anyway. And, you know, they just decided to make the change, test it out. They figured it was still worth the $7, which I guess if you compare it to other items in the shop, it would be. But like one thing I said to the team is it's always been there. The Gold Pass is the one-stop shop for Clash of Clans. You can always say that is the best thing to buy. You get all of the progression items and the hero skin as well. So what that means is if someone is maxed, they would still buy the Gold Pass because of the hero skin, and they can convert all of the other items to gems. But on the same token, if they were trying to sell more skins and make more through cosmetics, they might actually have the opposite effect, because this is another bit of feedback I gave, in that I think there are a good amount of players who buy the other skins to complete their set if they like the skin in the Gold Pass. So I really did not like the change, but I am happy to see that it was reverted. But heading down my list, I think that is everything that I had planned. Like I said, I tried to keep it relatively brief, just make sure to share my thoughts as I went through these points, and be sure to subscribe if you do want to see more videos where I just discuss my thoughts on the game, and I will see you in the next one.